How do you stay positive when the world is suffering? I think that's the title for today's conversation. And if you don't know anything about Courses for Spirit, then what we do on a Sunday is we get together and we will do meditation. We'll have a grounding meditation. We'll have a conversation about something that matters, matters to anyone really. But we're looking at it from the point of view of being people who are really interested in personal and spiritual growth or unfoldment. I don't know how you want to talk about it. And to offer a space where other people can come and, just maybe just listen in or put in some comments if you want to join in the conversation. And that's what we're doing. So I don't know, Mason, did you want to add anything else to that?
Uh, yeah, well, yeah, even just that what Courses for Spirit is all about and what we're doing and just talking and getting together, maybe sharing some ideas here and that some people maybe have the same ideas as you, type in the comments, maybe a community build at some point. But just yeah, just some ideas to share and to think about. Um, but then about today's topic or idea of how to stay maybe positive when the world's hurting or try to how to kind of keep yourself when there seems to be like there's a lot of despair out there or get bombarded by the news. I mean, even just to break that down a little more, it's like not to be overcome with negativity, the negativity that you see out there if you catch yourself, tuning into, like I said, news or whatever, or maybe the situations in your immediate circle, maybe it's just on the news. Um, yeah, how and why to stay positive and not let that kind of overtake you. I don't
Mm,
know. I just found it's like a valuable practice for myself right now. Yeah.
yeah, because these are pretty intense times, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
I find that, yeah. Sorry, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
I don't. I mean, when I think I was about 14 when there was the Falklands War. Some people might remember that, and I was so shocked that because I'm British, I was so shocked that there was like a war declared, and people were getting burned alive and shot and taken prisoner, and it was just awful, horrendous thing to see. And of course, if people in America from different generations have seen, that there was the war in Vietnam, and that really hit people's consciousness. So that was the first thing for me. But what's happening now is so incredible. You can't ignore it. You can't be. I don't. It's. I think it's difficult for people to feel kind of cozy and safe in their own kind of country or their own little bubble and not be affected by the horrible suffering that we know people all across the planet are going through, and then we also know that the planet itself is suffering because of the way it's been treated. Uh,
Hmm.
that's kind of putting a very
Hmm.
broad frame on it.
Yeah, still a broad frame, but you're still thinking about, even I pictured quickly, look at the Mother Earth and her kind of suffering, maybe all the thought I've done about that. It's like the damage that maybe people are causing to the larger organism and she suffers. It's kind of like when we maybe hurt ourselves, we put in too much toxins and then we kind of get sick. So it's I got some big crows. Can you hear the crows actually in my microphone? Okay, good. Because the crows flying by I'm outside, they're distracting me, which I think they're distracting you guys. So I just if you can't hear them, then that's fine. But
They're probably just saying hello.
possibly, yeah, possibly. Or, actually they have a bit of a gang mentality. There's always a bunch of them and they're always loud and obnoxious. And it's just I'm sure they're lovely creatures, but these particular crows have a bit of a gang active like vibe to them. So I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're, maybe not. But yeah. Hey, sorry, what was I saying? It was just about that, like the Mother Earth can be hurt a little bit, and maybe the planet's hurting. Yeah, I feel like we talked last week a bit about this waking up, and maybe there's this like, a movement of people waking up, you know, becoming more spiritual or becoming more aware to these things. I feel like as the planet wakes up and as we communicate more across the internet and things are shared and we can see more across the world, like the whole neural network of the planet is growing and like actually waking up. We begin to see these things, right? And it's like I think as we wake up, the part of this awakening process, whatever that means to you in your own life, like enlightenment, just personal growth, personal development, like just growing up, you know, I think we see more of these things. We see more of, like, we're aware of more of the dangers out there or the hardships as we grow too. We lose loved ones, we lose things, we gain things, but we go through these hardships. And yeah, I just feel, you know, well, just trying to stay strong, I guess, in that, or trying to stay
Well, you know,
going in it.
you're making a very good point. So I think one of the things that I've noticed in my own and um, Eckhart Tolle talks about this a lot. He's a huge, you know, he's somebody I love. I just love Eckhart Tolle. I love his
Hmm.
teachings. I love the way he teaches, and it's in the. You'll find this in Christian mysticism, and there's a strong strand of this in Christianity, but it's also in the Eastern traditions as well. So East and West both agree on this. So Buddhism, for particularly, if you're thinking about an Eastern path, but all paths have this, is the realization that when when the physical plane, so Earth, when you're a person, you're a human being on Earth, and it's going really well, like you're good looking, you've things are working out for you, people are attracted to you, you're having a great time in terms of physical pleasures, money's coming in, it's all going great. You don't have a lot of motivation to kind of turn inward and start that fairly arduous journey of self realization and returning your consciousness away from the world and all of its exciting things that it's doing, because it's kind of brilliant when it works out here. You're not going to do that because it's kind of working out so well. Why would you want to change anything? Why would you want to? This is brilliant. You're having success, and that's why you came to the earth, you know. And we've got our cultures built around that idea of like external success and pleasure and sense gratification and so on and so forth. And then so suffering comes along and goes, just kind of bashes you around to the point where you're going, no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to bang, 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 bump. And eventually, you're brought to your knees. I can't remember who was it said, it doesn't matter how you're brought to your knees, as long as you're brought to your knees before your creator or before spirit or, before, you're humbled in some ways. But to be humbled doesn't mean to be humiliated and made fun of. It's just like you go, oh, fuck, oh, sorry to swear. Oh, dearie me, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This pain. Like, what do I do with this pain? This is awful. And then when you
Hmm.
start asking, what's life about? Who am I anyway? And then when you start asking those deeper questions, then it's, well, that's kind of where we're at now. We're asking these deeper questions. I think globally, this is kind of what's going on. We're asking these deeper questions. And as you ask those deeper questions, it's kind of confusing and it's kind of unsettling. And you can't really see, you don't have the certainty that you had before. But what that also does is it opens up a space for something more sublime, for something, for saints and masters and gurus, whatever you think of those things, for enlighten more, for the help that's here for you to find you because you start looking for help. If you're not
Mm,
looking for help, you know what it's like if somebody tries to help you with something you don't. What if you don't even know you need help with it? They sound like a lunatic saying, "I can help you with it." What are you talking about? Everything's great. How are you going to help me with my life? You look at you, loser. You
mm,
know
yeah.
that would be the Western thing. Like imagine if a monk, if you know, in the Buddhist tradition. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I will bring this monologue to an end. You know, so if you
Mm,
think
good.
about in you know the Hindu tradition or the Buddhist tradition of monks just not really owning very much and going begging for food from house to house, and then because the culture understands the value of that, people being delighted, as far as I understand it. I mean, this is my assumption. I might be wrong, but being delighted to be able to contribute. You know, especially when it's a genuine holy person. You compare that to, you know, the West someone going down Wall Street and you know, somebody who hasn't got, you know, two pennies to rub together saying, no, I can really help you. Guys, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. All you care about, I mean, in these big, you're in trouble. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? We're not in trouble until they actually are in trouble and they find that their lives don't work anymore. And then you ask the deeper questions. And that's what's going on right now. People are asking those deeper questions. And the people who don't feel emboldened to ask the deeper questions, they're just kind of falling into suffering. You know, it'll just get worse and worse and worse until they start asking deeper questions. And then eventually it will start to get better.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, good monologue. Like I I agree with this idea that I feel like everyone has a destiny or everyone has some maybe outlined purpose in life. And I kind of feel like the universe wants you going in that direction. At the same time, the universe will let you do whatever you want with your free will, and you can stay in the same habits or patterns for like a lifetime, right? And then maybe you're forced to ask these deeper questions at some point. I'm not sure. But yeah, and I think sometimes I think the universe will like send you subtle signals like, hey, everything seems like it's going all right, but it's not, and then the signals kind of get louder. I think sometimes even God, the universe, whatever, can really put the brakes on your life. Everything can be going so good and then just crash. And then come the deeper questions, like why me? Why is this happening? And the earth really takes you off the path you're on and makes you sit still for a minute and kind of refocus and recalibrate. But yeah, I mean, I think that happens.
Well, I mean, in your experience, is that true?
Well, yeah, I was like, I was getting fulfillment from a certain lifestyle I was living. I was living in Toronto, I was living in the city, I was hanging out with a bunch of friends all the time, and I was going out a lot. And in the beginning, this was like magnificent for me. It was wonderful because it was really the right time and the right place. I'd kind of left high school and college and a little bit after, and I wasn't smooth at making friends and I wasn't smooth at communicating with people. And uh, yeah, like I struggled socially. And then something just changed when I got to Toronto and I was Toronto, and I was hanging out with a bunch of people and I was meeting new friends. And all of a sudden, things just felt differently. I was communicating and I learned to dance. So I really got into dancing and I love dancing. And all of a sudden I can dance now and I'm not actually that shy. So it was like kind of wonderful, very, very yin and yang kind of lifestyles. And, you know, that was great for the face. But then I started just asking deeper questions. What is the purpose of my life? What am I going to do? What is like going on here? Right. And I started to understand, like I had a different purpose in life. And I started to understand, okay, the going out and socializing very much was good for that time in my life. But now it's kind of almost getting overplayed, you know? So and maybe I'm doing it too much. So I was doing that too much. I was going out when I should have been studying. I was going out when I should have been sleeping. Um, I was going out when I should have been doing anything related to self-care or those questions I was asking myself. And the more I went out and socialized and partied and danced and whatever, the louder those questions got. And eventually that became like tricky, right? And that did actually all come to a halt. Uh, the universe was sending me all kinds of signals. Okay, like like my budget got unfriendly for that, and vehicle troubles got unfriendly for that, and family obligations started piling up, and like just this party lifestyle was getting pushed out of my life. But I was still kind of chasing that gratification of hanging out with friends, of course. And then, even uh, COVID kind of happened. And then that really like hit the brakes. So sometimes you can feel when something is not sustainable, or like when you're going too much. It started to feel like life when you go to a buffet, like the first pizza slice is like the greatest, and then like the last pizza slice is like not super rewarding, like it just diminishing returns. My lifestyle felt like that. And yeah, of course I thought COVID was this interesting pause on the world, and everyone suffered a lot. We could talk about the suffering, but a tiny fraction of stillness within COVID where we're all forced to like stop work and go inside, and like the divisiveness was ugly, and I think it is ugly, but our individual nature where we actually had to sit with ourselves, that I think sparked something in people. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. The universe will whisper at you, and then it will get loud and say, you're not following your destiny, you're not following your destiny. And I think it can really put the brakes on your life.
Mm.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
because that story is wonderful because it also illustrates, things can be going great. You can be having a wonderful time, and then that starts to lose its flavor as well. And then you start asking, because what I heard when you were talking was this desire for a deeper meaning in life rising up. You think it's like, oh, if only I could just make friends and have a good social life, then everything will be okay. And then you actually manage to do that, and you're like, oh, this isn't it. This doesn't satisfy. There's something more, because the soul or the spirit, terminology, but never mind, is like it's about expansion, isn't it? It's about expansion and it's about growth. We're constantly wanting to grow and expand on a soul level, like in the deepest level of who we are, is constantly wanting to grow and expand, because that's kind of natural for us to do. And so that expansion can work through, your desires being manifested, and you realizing that there's still a dissatisfaction with your experience. I want more. I want something different. So yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. And then, of course, there's the suffering that we're seeing now. I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't think we even have to name it, because the people who, whoever's watching this now, hello, you know what's going on. You know what's going on in your own life, and you also can see examples of people suffering. Whether you think their suffering is justified or not is a different question. And I don't think I'm going to get into whether people need to suffer. I just think that there might be some suffering which is unavoidable. I know there are certain things that are unavoidable. I mean, the pain of being separated from a loved one, it happens. It's going to happen with every relationship. We do have a limited amount of time in our physical bodies on the planet, and it's hard to say goodbye to people. So there's a type of suffering that's unavoidable. And even if you've got the most kind of deepest faith, or you've got the most you've if you've really gone into spirituality, so you actually have knowledge of your own eternal nature as a spirit soul.
Mhm.
It's interesting to talk to people who do have that experience as well. That'd be something that I think we should be doing on the channel. Is that when you,
Mhm.
even then, you still suffer when somebody that you love is no longer physically present. Even when you do regain contact with them, and you realize that relationship doesn't end with death, which is another topic maybe we should talk about. Even then, you still suffer when that person isn't physically there for you anymore. If you've got really used to the comfort of having them near you,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
or there's a complexity to the relationship, as often it is with parents. So people who lose their parents without really making peace with their parents, you know how painful that is. Even if you say you don't care about them, you know you do really, and you wish you didn't, but you do. You know. So there's certain sufferings which are inevitable, and then others that it's clearly don't actually have to be going on. You know, in terms of war, in terms of poverty, in terms of treatable diseases, in terms of kindness, civility, in terms of compassion, in terms of all of those kind of things. My goodness, should we have a meditation? Because this is getting really heady and and wordy. I think maybe. I think if we could have, would you lead us into just into a compassionate kind of space with a sort of guided meditation, and we could maybe go deeper into the subject for people for anyone who's interested.
Yeah, yeah, okay, for sure. Let's do this. Let's do this, Mike, and everybody. So it's like, let's just do like a meditation, mindfulness, awareness practice now, whatever you want to call it. And and yeah, these these things that are happening in the world, it's like just to kind of the idea to lean into this meditation with is um I heard I heard Greg Braden talk about this one time. You love Eckhart Tolle, so do I. I listen to Greg Braden speak sometimes, and it's he was talking about not allowing the negativity to overtake you, to not let it like seep in. So, like I said, when I'm looking at what appears to be off-putting or what's happening in the world, like it starts to create this negativity in me, and I start to feel like angry, and I start to feel upset, and I start to project those emotions onto the situation, onto what I'm viewing, even if it's actually right in front of me in real life, not even on my phone or the news or anything. And and I just don't want that negativity in me. I don't want that like divisiveness spreading through me. So the to go into this meditation is like trying to let go of those negative feelings, trying to move towards like what feels real, like what feels light, and so not, that negativity has a feeling. So it's just like putting that feeling down. So sorry if I'm, but I
No,
just wanted to.
I like it, and I think to make a distinction. So to connect with a positive energy at a time when the world is suffering is not ignoring the suffering that's going on. It's just what you're saying is it's just allowing yourself to to float above it, maybe not float above. Like it's like if you're in a sea of suffering, then you want to be on a life raft, really, of positivity. You're still in the sea of suffering, and you're going to help people come out of suffering as best you can, and you're going to get involved as best you can, but you're in a better position to do that if you acknowledge the suffering, but you also acknowledge that there is a source of positivity and there is a source of hope as well. And so we'll connect to that whilst we're still in this stage of universal suffering, which is, I don't know anybody who isn't suffering. And I think that people, I don't know anybody who isn't going to experience suffering at some point in their lifetime. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I said, there's only everything has a time and a place, right? Like even with me and my going out, I love socializing. I listen to the best music. I thought I had the best friends, and I thought life was grand and it was going to be that way. But those phases end naturally beyond your control, and you still try to keep that lifestyle going when the time has changed and when everybody else around you has changed, that it gets to be a bit like tricky and almost like illusionary to do.
Mm,
I'm gonna plug my computer in and then we'll just begin this on that premise.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Right. 1 second, guys.
I think so. I think Mason's plugging in his batteries. Probably what he's doing. Yeah. So well, we can just get settled into a nice, comfortable position, which can be seated, or you could be lying down. I don't know where you are, but we're both seated.
Power.
And I was just saying about just the position. You just want to try and have your spine as erect as you possibly can, as given whatever physical conditions you're dealing with. And the reason you want to have your spine as erect as you can is because you're actually aligning. If you think of them as little stars, there's like a light source just above your head. There's one here, one here, there's one here, one here, one here, and one right at the base of your spine. So there's seven chakras. And I like to think of them as like stars in a constellation, and my spine's like the thread that keeps them in line. So when you're sitting in meditation, you're trying, you don't have to think about that now, but that's just the reason that you want to just try and sit up as straight as you can in a relaxed way, so that energy can move through your body freely. And while we're doing any of these practices, if you do feel energy moving in the form of an emotion, let that emotion flow, with the knowledge that the emotion needs to flow in order for your body to come back into some kind of a balance. We're talking about how do you stay positive when the world's suffering. So when this is not, we're not trying to put a band-aid over a wound. Actually, one of the ways you heal from suffering is by allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, which can be quite frightening. So please do practice self-care. We're not doing any guided visualizations that are going to be taking you into suffering or anything like that, but just practice self-care, because we don't know what situation that you're in right now. We can't know that.
Mhm.
But what we do know is that if you feel held enough to just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, and then your body can process the energy that you've been holding, and you can move, you can get things moving. It's like the ice breaking up a little bit and things starting to move.
Yep, yep. It's like a frozen river that we're trying to, as we bring attention to it, like it warms and then it can flow gently and kind of clear. But sometimes it's the trickiest part is cracking the ice first, Sometimes it is tricky. Sometimes you go at it with an ice pick. Sometimes you go at it with like warmth. Those are just like metaphors, but
Sometimes the ice is thin and it breaks. You stand on it and you go through. There's so many different ways of you like talking about this metaphor, but just look after yourself. Practice self-care. We don't know what situation you're in, but we're just going to connect now to a source of compassion and a source of hope and a source of light, while the earth is suffering, fully acknowledging the suffering, not going into the details of it, because to go into the details of it, I think, would be overwhelming. So, we're informed, but we're not overwhelmed. I don't know who said that, but that's quite a good saying. I quite like that one. It's a good rule of thumb.
yeah. You ready to begin? Okay. So I always begin by just noticing my breath And I slowly start to just close my mouth and breathe in through my nose and out through the nose. And just as you were saying, Mike, as you're noticing your breath with awareness, just noticing it and allowing it to take its pace, you can slow it down a little if you feel comfortable. You can take a bit of a deeper breath. You can allow it to exit slower if you want, or longer. Take a longer exhale. Remember, breathing in through the nose sends signals of calmness to the body, triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest, digest, relax state of being. And this is, you said, Mike, we're not going to be visualizing anything negative, any specifics of philosophy that I enjoy a lot, whether it's eating or meditating or what is, don't try to push the bad out, try to introduce the good. So as we're breathing and meditating, we'll introduce the goodness of ourselves, the the strength of ourselves. How to allow what is unique about you to arise. As you breathe, try to invite what you love about yourself, what you think is positive about yourself, into your mind's eye. What what could you do for yourself and ultimately for the world that is suffering? Try to invite that in and give life to it as you sit and connect. We're just regulating our bodies right now. We're taking care of our individual bodies. You're taking care of your individual body by breathing, sitting, relaxing. Try to relax into yourself even further if you can. And remember that there's no rush. And remember that the slower you go, the healthier you might feel, the calmer you might feel. Every time you meditate or sit in stillness like this, you pick up where you left off last. You're returning to this place of stillness and silence. Of course, I'm talking right now, guiding you, but try to listen to those points of silence between my words and between your thoughts. Try to allow what comes up to come up from those places. The stillness and the silence are the depths of your being. From there, you have access to incredible wisdom, incredible self-knowledge, incredible calming regulation, and the kind of incredible power that you can create in your life. Take 3 breaths into that silence now. As you strengthen this part of your being, you move forward with this strength in your life. This is the kind of strength that you might say the world needs, or perhaps your world needs. Perhaps you're not looking externally that much. Perhaps your journey is mostly inward daily, and your world needs this stillness. Mm. Try to try to imagine some of your strength. Try to imagine some of your power. Try to breathe that into your being however you can. Try to breathe it into your body with awareness right now. And as you return to the space, try to try to try to just simply remember that strength. You don't have to solidify it. You don't have to remember it forever. You don't have to try to make it anything it's not. Just try to remember it so that you might want to get in touch with it during another meditation, during another moment of stillness. And as you just come back to the space, uh, just as easily as you went into that space, maybe just recount how you feel. Just think, how do you feel to yourself right now? Would you want to share, Mike, how you feel if you're ready or you're back for a
Yeah, that
little
was
bit?
great. It was lovely. So common things with meditation. So anybody, what you might have noticed, there was a moment where I nodded off briefly. It happens in meditation, especially when you're tired, and a lot of people are tired because they're working really hard, long hours and stuff, staying up late, not getting out much sleep, getting up early, all that stuff. So you might nod off, but then you come back. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
I love the way the Dalai Lama talks about meditation. He falls asleep when he's meditating. It's the Dalai Lama. He was reincarnated from the previous Dalai Lama. In that tradition. So don't worry about nodding off. And the other thing that was really lovely is like when you said, "Well, imagine what is your strength, what is your power in this situation," and it was spirit is my power. God is my power. The creator of the universe is my power. The source is my power because I'm one with that. That's the truth of what it means to be a human being. This is what all the mystics tell you. All the paths teach you that. And of course, there would have been a time when I would have run from any idea like that because it would have come with a lot of dogma, like, oh, well, in that case, you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do that. You've got to be like this and you can't be you. anymore. You have to be something different in order to, that's not true. It's just not true. You know, there's nothing more intimately ourselves and more unique than our this relationship that we have with the divine or the unmanifest or whatever name you want to use. God's the one that gets used the most, in the English language. So that's in community and unity and kindness and compassion. That's all part of it. That's our strength. That's my strength. Even if I don't feel like I truly deserve that, or if people really got to know me, I had a phone call. I'll tell you this. I had a phone call with the head of a huge, and just astonishingly powerful in a way that powerful, spiritual organization. And he said that to me as well. He said, "Oh, well, if people really knew what I was like, they wouldn't want me heading up this spiritual organization." I just loved the humility of that. I felt safe
Mm.
there, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that our power is in this. It's what's inside of us, which is this connection. It's not out there. It's Caroline Myss. She says, it's not some off-world man who's this god thing. It's not Zeus. Sorry, Zeus, but it's not. It's this intimate connection of father, mother, friend, neighbor, cousin, whatever. No, it's closer than that. It's your intimate, most intimate family. Family is this relationship with this invisible force for good, powerful, compassionate, loving force for good.
It's cool, Mike. This point. I never thought of it that way myself. Like when you like, what's your power? Oh, my power is communications, spiritual, it's connection. Like I never, that wasn't the first thing that came to mind for myself. But to hear you describe it, I think, oh, like maybe I also have those powers or the beginnings of those powers, and I gotta practice. Like it's just cool sharing that idea with you. Yeah, it's like I think it's great. Yeah, and that you said, like I feel like as we were sitting and getting comfortable with the stillness, which we were calling the meditation, that came up to you. I think in the stillness, this awareness arrives. Like you're like, oh, it came to me, and I feel like it came to you almost like clearly or fast with your motion. You did this when you said it came to you. It's like came to you with clarity. It looked like.
You just remember.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's it. So you remember and you forget, and 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 it just goes
Yeah.
on and on and on. Remember, forget, and forget, and then remember. So this is why there's practices in every spiritual path, whether it's whatever every path has its practices and its rituals and its rites and all that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to call it, these practices that help you remember, help you come into contact with that intimate relationship that every one of us has, because it's what we are.
Yeah. And it's interesting also, I said, as soon as when we were closing the meditation, I said, all you have to do is just remember this feeling, that feeling you get in touch with of this, your power, your strength. Like, just remember that. You don't have to like hang on to it or create it or write it down or like save it in a vault somewhere. It's once you create it, the more you sit with it, it's created and you remember. And it brings it like you get better at remembering it. You get better at sinking into that character, that archetype, that power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that is while you're in the middle of the suffering of the world as well. And we're not. It's not negating the suffering. It's not saying it's not real. It is real when somebody suffers, to the person who's suffering and to the people who love them as well.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
what was it?
It,
Paramahansa Yogananda says, banging your dream head against a dream wall in a dream hurts. It's real suffering.
yeah, definitely. Something to add also to that is I heard one time somebody say that there's two paths in this life. the path to serve yourself and the path to serve others. And I don't actually think the path to serve yourself is a selfish path. I mean, of course, that is a path that people take, but I think the path to serve yourself is like maybe comes first before serving others. It's like the oxygen mask in the plane when they say, put yours on first so you can make sure that you have what it takes to help other people, that you have the strength. Don't run yourself too thin, you know? So I think that this discussion today talks on about this point of I want to run out there and be a superhero. I want to save the world. I want it all. I want to do everything I can to stop it. But it's like I gotta stop. I gotta tie my shoes first. I gotta eat something. I have to make sure, I have what it takes to get out there and give it all my strength. Um, and and I really think that's okay. I really think it's okay to prepare yourself to do whatever goodness you want to do whatever thing you want to do out in the world. Um, before helping other people. Yeah, I just, you
Well,
know.
well, before we went live on YouTube, we were recording the Zoom part of it, it was just a little private conversation between ourselves. And you said, "I really believe, or it seems true to me, that everybody has a part to play in a plan." And I would agree with you there. I mean, certainly that was what I learned from what I'm and continue to learn from my study of the Course in Miracles. It's basically sort of going, well, yeah, there is, and don't worry about it, because just try and stay open. The Course in Miracles is great because it's got these exercises you can do that helps you keep your mind open, and you go through your process, and you go through your clouds and your mist and your darkness and your confusion, and sometimes it opens up and you can see the path ahead of you, and sometimes it closes again, but you just keep kind of going step by step. And then typically what happens is, rather than knowing what the plan is in advance, or even knowing that what you're doing now is part of that plan, it tends to be when you sort of look back, you go, oh, there seems to be some kind of order in my life. There's all of these kind of coincidences that have happened, and there's been times when I've got really stuck and I felt like I've been going round in circles, and maybe you were going around in circles, but you didn't keep on going round in circles. And so this is one of the values of just getting on the spiritual path, whichever is the right path for you, which is the path, personal growth, kindness, compassion, giving up, judging, acting in the world in order to be truly helpful. These are all parts of, there's so much to it. It's not something you can just talk about in one broadcast. Obviously, you can't. But yeah, everyone does have a part to play, and everyone is playing their part. And some of those parts are pretty tough parts to play. I mean, I wouldn't want to play the role that some of our leaders are playing right now, because the karmic debt that they're incurring, what you go put out comes back to you. Like, just think about what that means for some of those souls.
Trying to think
And
about it a lot, Mike.
and then don't carry it on your shoulders, because it's not yours to carry. They're going to have to deal with that. And there is this, if people who want to get involved with kindness, compassion, caring, community, unity, dropping the judgment, owning your own shit and looking inwards and taking that inward journey and being contemplative and kind of being that messy, human, divine being that we are, then and think and putting and imagining a better world for everybody, then we're contributing to it, and we really are, because our thoughts are more powerful than it's only when you start to get deep into mystic practices and or learning, or wisdom traditions, however you want to talk about it, that you begin to appreciate the power of human consciousness, which human thoughts, thinking. You can't appreciate it when your mind's steeped in limitation and lack, which is basically what our capitalist cultures are built upon. You know, the idea that some people have it all, and in order for some people to have it all, there's a lot of people who've got like not very much. You know, that's a belief, but because many people believe it, you know, we act like that and we create it. So that's just one way of thinking about the power of thought. It's like if you believe something, you tend to act like that, and then you know you reinforce it, you create it, and we are reinforcing and creating suffering because we've got you know we've got these belief structures that do not serve the well-being of life on Earth.
I was thinking today about yeah, like you only really experience what you believe. I was thinking about these kind of topics, and of course your beliefs shape the,
Yeah.
the lenses that you're going to look through. But
Goodness me. You know, we're getting quite close to the end of today's Spiritual Sundays, which I've really, really enjoyed, Mason, and loved that guided visualization. I love where you took us with that as well, and the way that just sort of comes to you. That's fantastic. Really love it. And we've opened up so many different topics, but, you know, I think we've tried to talk about as best we can, you know, how do you stay positive while the world's you know, in a suffering world? How do you stay positive in a suffering world? And we hope maybe we've helped you, talking to you who's tuned in somehow. We hope
mhm.
we've helped you a little bit, and certainly I found it incredibly beneficial to be here because you know that's the central awareness is, you know, every time you help somebody, don't, you know, if you're not helping the person in order to try and make yourself feel like you're a good person. You're actually kind of helping because you don't really know what else to do. You just kind of, I've got to kind of try and help somehow because it's the right thing to do. Then you get back from that without wanting to, you don't do the helping to get back. You just do it because you're confused and messy and human, and you know you want something better for everyone. Then you're learning and you're growing, and that means that's the right direction to go in. You know, it's messy, confusing, things go wrong all the time. It's you know, that's how it is on the spiritual path. um like we said earlier, you know, it's actually the rational human mind is not in charge of the universe. It is not running the show, but it does try to represent itself that way pretty much all the time.
Yeah, we've got ego and subconscious and the programming we've got from our society and since birth, and like try to use all that stuff to do what's right and make sense of the world. And it's tough, challenging, confusing job. But yeah, just recapping, it's like it's okay to prioritize yourself for a few minutes, for a few days in this world. It's okay to look at what's happening. It's okay to care about it. It's okay that we can't change everything and solve everything all in one day. And yeah, there's other people out here that are like thinking just like you, feeling just like you, trying to figure out what's going to happen next. How do we take care of ourselves? And, you know, maybe is the future of the planet, like, why are we doing this? Like, is it hopeful? Like, why do we care about that stuff? Yeah. Yeah. Just wishing everyone like good luck and stay safe out there. And, don't be afraid to find happiness or joy. Like, if you can at these stages, no matter what's going on. And if anyone's dealing with anything that's so hard out there that, it feels almost dreadful or impossible to find happiness, or even asking yourself, like, what's the point? Like, I just, my heart goes out to you, our hearts go out to you. I just try to stay solid and grounded, and maybe the situation around you changes if you just take care of yourself, stay alive, stay breathing, try doing your best. Yeah. It's a long way of saying like I love you. Yeah.
And just on closing, and just you know, if you have got something out of today and it's resonated with you, if we could ask you a little favor, which would be to just hit the subscribe button, and maybe like or comment on just get in touch with us so we can include you in the conversation. And right, let's stay focused, keep the mind focused. There was a cat. I was just like, oh no, cat. But if you can subscribe, that really helps the channel to grow. Yeah, that would be great, and it helps us to reach more people with kind of down to earth conversations about things that can really help in a time when the world is suffering. How do we stay positive when the world is suffering? It's a good question to ask ourselves. Questions invite answers, and so it's always good to ask, formulate and ask a good question rather than make statements like, "Oh, the world's going to," da, 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 "Oh, people are like that. Oh, it's human nature." All of that kind of stuff. That certainty. I don't think this is the time for that kind of level of certainty. I think it's more about asking questions like, how do you stay positive in a world that's suffering? I think. Thank you, Mason. That's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been awesome sharing space with you. It's been awesome. If anyone's interested or inspired by anything we've talked about on any podcast, it's been awesome. Yeah. Thanks for today. Thanks for today, everybody.
Yeah. And if you are watching live, we're just going to click off now. We're going to stop the live stream, but Mason, we'll carry on for maybe another 10, 15 minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah,
Have you got
of
that
course.
time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so stopping the live stream. If you did want to jump on the Zoom and you're watching this live, you will have, if you go to the website for Courses for Spirit, which is courses, spirit.ca for Canada, and you go to workshops, you'll see a link and you can just click on that and it'll bring you into the Zoom and you can chat with us. But otherwise, thank you for being you. Thanks for being here.